Hey, my name's Julian Faust. Today I'm joined by Reggie Hayes. Reggie, welcome to the show and thanks for joining me.
Hey, thank you for having me. Very nice to be
Of,
here.
of course, yeah. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about what you do at your current company, Blue Horizon Innovations. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I we're sort of a young company. We started in the summer of 2024, and I always tell people I sort of accidentally started a solar company. I didn't mean to; it just sort of happened. We currently Blue Horizon. We are the only producer of high voltage commercial grade solar panels or PV modules on the planet. And there have been others, but right now we are the only ones that are producing them and can produce them, and send them anywhere in the world. But the whole thing on the background of it, I didn't intend to start a solar company. I've always been a fan of technology, love technology, I love developing things, but also own a boat charter business during the summer. It's a very fun time, and we needed a golf cart at the yacht club, and I said, man, I just don't have a way to plug one in, but I wonder if I could put solar on one, or see what's available and charge it that way. If it took a couple of days to charge, it would probably be okay. And started looking at what was available on the market for solar charging golf carts, and I didn't like really anything on the market. It was barely 1 amp of charge, and I'm like, man, this is terrible. And so I started looking at what panels were available. And I called around a bunch of different solar companies. I'm like, hey, I need a panel that can produce 70 volts to charge back a 48-volt golf cart. And they're like, well, we don't work that way. Our panels are 37 volts or 40 volts, or you don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't exist. You got to hook two of them together. And so I got laughed at or hung up on a lot. So I said, you know what? So I ended up having a customer on the boat one day, and I told him what I needed. And he says, I actually work in solar in that space already. And he said, why don't I hook you up with our factory? And that was the start of everything right there. They allowed us to go in, look at their catalog, and go in and make a lot of changes to the specific panels that we needed. And we ended up designing three different panels so far of these stronger commercial grade panels that we could put on golf carts and have high voltage. I mean, our panels are one for the golf cart. I mean, even as low as the 65-inch panel can still put out 82 volts open circuit. So it's a high voltage thing, and the 78-inch panel can put out 86 volts. So that's what we needed, and we were like, that was the birth of Blue Horizon. And but then that brought along another challenge of you can't build a business on putting solar panels on golf carts, and we're not the first ones to do it. But the factory says, hey, this is great, but we just need you to order 1,000 of these at a time. And I'm like, well, all right, so new challenge. What do we do with, 500 or 1,000 panels when, we go to a golf course or a country club and they only need 40 or 50 at a time? That got us thinking outside the box, and we were like, wow, there's a whole planet out there that can benefit with high voltage panels. And not only that, but also the commercial grade version of it as well. And being able to handle a lot of for example, I live near the coast, so we have a lot of salt air environments here, but also in farming, subject to a lot of nitrogen and ammonia, especially around hog farms. And these panels are designed to be able to withstand those environments as well. So that was sort of how everything very quickly, found its momentum, 6 to 9 months into the company here.
Okay, yeah. And it seems like there's a lot to balance there because you have the solar panel side with the golf carts, and then you also have the more commercial side too. How do you go about it's almost two different businesses in one. How do you decide how to balance that? What's making you more the money? What's more of your passion there? Can you tell me about that?
That's a very good question because as a business owner, it doesn't matter what business you're in. You can have a business model, but then you can also have a passion. And some successful people are good at doing both. If your passion is in, I mentioned boats earlier. If your passion is in boating and you have a business and you want to start something, if you can monetize that based around a passion project, that's fantastic. But for in this case, this was a world that I had to learn a lot of things about. I come from a background of logistics and product development and things of that nature, so I am familiar with a lot of the processes. But what I wasn't familiar with was quite how the global economy and the global marketplace works as far as putting things on ships and shipping containers and minimum order quantities and that's an entirely different world. And the secret there is just having other people on the team. You build a team, and they say all the time, people smarter than me, to figure these things out. But that's what you have to do. You have to build a team of people that know more about those areas. We have a guy that understands manufacturing and logistics, and that is his specialty. He knows about the electrical part of everything, the electrical design. He's familiar with some of it, but he doesn't understand quite all of it. So, but that's not his thing is just in the manufacturing side. We have another person who is involved in just the fabrication side of things. How can we, I call it manipulating metal, but, manufacture and fabricate metal to make certain parts or brackets that we have to have for the golf carts. But back to your question, I know it's kind of a ramble there, but we are putting together a team of people that understand, their different niches in the company. We did end up having to divide the company 6 months into it. I'm like, listen, our business cards say Blue Horizon Carts. Our email is Blue Horizon Carts. And we started off doing carts, and then we got into people saying, well, why are you're talking about selling us panels, but your email is, Blue Horizon Carts. So I went to our graphic designer and I said, I think we need to split the brand two different divisions. And we have at the golf cart side of the company that we wholeheartedly believe is, first of all, it's going to change the landscape for golf carting and the whole experience for electric carts. Because we have a product that has been tested, it works, and we have people that no longer have to plug their carts in, and they use them almost every day. And not just go to the mailbox and come back. I mean, some of these things are at movie studios and industrial yards, and they're putting them through the test. And they've been performing very well, and we're very happy with that. The other side of the company, to meet the minimum order from the factory, is we had to figure out how to sell a whole lot of panels at one time. And that was part of our challenge there. So I have two different sales teams. I have a small sales team on the golf cart side, and then I have a small team on the wholesale side. And the wholesale side is sort of a parent company thing. That's where we do get into those passion projects that you mentioned. And for me, that is, I think, farming. I really think that with our panels, that they can be a very good help to solve a lot of the energy crisis going on with farms across the country right now.
Yeah. And you mentioned how you have two different sales teams. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approach sales on both different sides of the business and what some of the challenges are on each side?
Yeah, so talking about the golf cart side first, we have, you have markets. You have, for example, we have someone in Florida right now. And everything you do, you've got to put your best foot forward. And you've got to make sure that that they walk into a golf course, the front door of a golf course, or someone's office or a country club or something like that. And some of these country clubs, they have embroidered napkins, in the bathrooms. They have marble tile floors. I mean, everything they do at a country club looks incredible. And that was always been part of our thing, is like, we have to build something that looks as well as it performs, and it has to look sleek. It's got to look good. And for the most part, we hit that mark so well, people didn't even notice that on a lot of our carts, they were even solar. It just looked like a normal roof. But taking that from a branding perspective, everything has to be polished. Your emails, voicemail greetings, paperwork, materials, printed materials, brochures, business cards. I mean, we're always trying to push the boundaries on how we can look bigger. First of all, use branding and graphic design to help you look bigger than you actually are, because that's part of the thing about building a company. But also, you want to make sure that when you know your audience, and you know what they expect. And if you walk in with a document that you printed out on your inkjet printer from Microsoft Word, it's not going to carry as much weight, or they're not going to take you as serious about your product. So that is one of our biggest focuses on the golf cart side, is making sure that if we're in an industry of image, that we can play in that arena as well. And then on the wholesale side, that's the other thing, is making sure that taking some of those other qualities as well. We have an entirely different logo for the wholesale side. We have a different email domain for that. We have two different websites. They do have links to each other. There are mentions of each other, but we have a lot of that separation that is necessary. But the two divisions have to be able to stand on their own. And the sales team on one side, they've got to know the technical aspects of the panels, at least on the surface level, to spit out power requirements. We get asked, hey, how cold can your panels operate in? Can we use them in outer space? Can we pair with some some aerospace companies? And the answer is no. They only work on planet Earth. But but going that, I say, well, look, if we're going to make sure they work on planet Earth, only we got to make sure that they can work anywhere on planet Earth, and they can. But that's just part of it. Is just making sure that your team is even if they don't come from a solar background, that they understand enough of the information to discuss it and not sound like they have to keep going back to their notes all the time.
Okay, yeah. And are the sales numbers right now where you would hope they would be regarding revenue?
Never are. We're still crawling. So the product just launched in January, and we have products that are moving about the globe right now. We do have a lot of quotes that we are preparing. We've got a lot of different projects that we've been asked about and asked to get involved with. We have companies that have asked to sort of team up with us and offer be in some of their lineup stuff here. So there's a lot of opportunities right now, and it truly is humbling. Like every week, some of the opportunities that just fall sort of into our lap. It's almost divine. You just it just comes, and that's a beautiful thing. But you always want the sales to be more, and the important thing is to set goals and be realistic with those goals in the beginning. I always hate when business coaches or mentors, they say, "Oh, well, it's going to take months and years," and I'm like, I don't have years. I need this thing up and running in months. And you're looking around, and it's like, you want things to move as fast as they can, but part of that is making sure you convey with the team where you want your goals to be. If you don't tell someone what your expectations are, they're not going to know. And you try to set milestones. You say, okay, well, listen, by May I want to be here. By September we want to be here, and you try to make that happen, and try to make sure you hold to those as much as you can, because that's in the corporate world, I say stockholders and things like that. You answer to stockholders and a board of directors. We're not there yet, but you can still have that accountability from a business standpoint, and be real with yourself.
Okay, yeah. And where are you guys now regarding your sales? And then where do you hope to be? What level do you hope to reach?
So right now we're about one container per quarter, and that is moving 500 units per quarter, and we're trying to take that up to moving a container per month after that. And so within 6 to 9 months, we would like to be moving at least one container per month. And I say that because right now, we've got 4 that are, we've been asked to send to Africa. We've got a couple in South Africa that are coming to the table. We've got, markets in Nigeria, Rwanda, all over, and not just, all over the United States as well. So, to be able to have all of that set up and have those logistics in place and be familiar with, for example, Port Lagos, Nigeria. I mean, it's important for us to understand, what's necessary to get them there, and we're pretty happy with, where we're at right now, because, like I said, we've got to be real with ourselves, and we hope to exceed our expectations. But we'll see. It's a slow process.
Yeah, all right. And if you could solve one major challenge within the business, I know how you want to improve, but then what specific challenge right now do you want to improve within your business processes? Whether it's sales, like internal operations, could you say a little bit on that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I look away. I'm looking up from my brain here, man. Because when you think of challenges, you've got on a global marketplace, and not to date this interview here, but to in this present day, actually April 2nd. I'm looking at the date here. Tariffs. That is not one of our biggest challenges, but it is a concern. We are in that global space, and so it is a beautiful thing when we can send things to another country like Bermuda or Nigeria and not have to be bound by tariffs. So because they have a lot of push for green energy in those countries, that they just said we don't need any tariffs whatsoever. Other challenges, this is going to sound left field, but honestly, the trucking industry. I've been saying for the last several years, our trucking industry is hanging on by a thread right now, with the rates per mile and the logistics of trucking, the amount of red tape on a federal level behind, trucking companies and truck drivers. The dawn of ELDs, the electronic logging devices, those are a lot of hindrances in the trucking aspect. And I own another company with a background in film production, and we had 3 trucks. And we looked at having those 3 trucks in the company, and just rolling them over into this company, or leasing them and staying separate and just lease one from the other. But the amount of red tape that was involved to do that, and the amount of logistics involved, it wasn't feasible. And so that is one of our challenges is once a ship brings those containers over to a port, we have to use trucks or, trains to get those containers away and get them into a warehouse. And then that last mile, as it's called, where you make it from the warehouse to the customer site. And so those are some of the challenges that we've been working through. And we've had a lot of people that are very well versed in that world of logistics that have been offering all kinds of advice on that. And it's an eye-opening experience with that.
I like how you were able to just pull the truck from your other company. That's a good way to kind of overcome the problem. How are you involved with other people? What advice have they given you, or how have you done business with them to overcome this obstacle?
Oh man. When I was in college, I worked at Sears. I'm telling on myself here. I worked at Sears
All
in
good.
college.
Yeah.
It was yeah. So I worked in retail, and I had an older gentleman that came in, and he was a retired marketing executive out of New York, and he retired to my town here, and he said, "Well, hey, listen, can I hire you to come help me install it?" He was 75 years old at the time. I said, "You know what? Yeah, I'll come help you." So he and I built a really good relationship. And the point is, he became a very powerful mentor for me in college. And he taught me a lot of things. But the two things he taught me before he eventually passed away was, number one, if you can learn on someone else's dime, learn. If you're with a company and they offer you a program to enhance your education somehow, take them up on that offer. Number two, if you can travel on someone else's dime, do it. If you're with a company and they offer, you're young. It's much harder to do when you settle down with a family, get married, settle down, have kids. But man, don't let those things hold you back. And I can talk more on that later. But then fast forward, ended up with now I've got a couple of people I would consider mentors, but one in particular offers me a lot of advice in terms of performas and proposals and testing, R&D, all of those things, and also just sort of thinking outside the box. So it is really important to listen to others, but try to lay an alliance down with someone who has been there, done that, and can offer you all kinds of advice. They don't have to be in your industry. I don't need a mentor that has a background in solar to teach me about logistics. You can find someone in that world and say, hey, sit down, offer them a cup of coffee. Here's my challenge. Here's what I'm doing. I also belong to a group called 1 Million Cups. They are nationwide. I know I'm giving them a shout out here, but they're nationwide. They're from the Kauffman Foundation. You can look them up. The entire premise of the group is a bunch of entrepreneurs get together. For us, it's Wednesday mornings, and sit around over coffee and talk through their challenges. It could be a simple challenge. Hey, I need a good calendar program. What do you recommend? Or it could be a more advanced challenge, like like I said, getting in terms of logistics or dealing with tariffs or red tapes or anything like that. Small business administration funding, But there are all sorts of opportunities and groups out there, networking opportunities to get into, and I would encourage any business owner, no matter what you're doing, to get involved in some of those networking groups, because it might be just a recommendation for a good graphic designer, or it might be a very powerful, door opening for you to do something, with your city that you're in, the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever the case may be. But get involved and go listen.
All right. And I'd like to end on a good note. You told me a little bit about your sales goals, but where do you see yourself in 6 to 12 months as a company?
Going back to some of the passion projects, our passion is one of mine is in farming. My family, I come from a farming family, and I think that we can put together, and we have been putting together a project to go to different farms, no matter if they're big or small, hog farms, chicken farms, turkey farms, dairy, any operation that uses a number of electricity, and help them with solar. A lot of them don't understand how to even go about it, or they've had someone knock on the door and offer them, an astronomical price to do it. But I think we've been working on putting a farm on a 5-year plan to have everything covered and save them a tremendous amount of money on their energy costs throughout the year. And at the end of those 5 years, they're saving even more money. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is skyrocketing in terms of energy costs. Another thing we're diving into is EV charging. I know there's a couple of companies out there doing EV charging canopies, but our modules or our solar panels are really good at maximizing that voltage when space is limited, such as putting 14 of our panels on these canopies to charge back electric vehicles. And we can do that. If we can charge a golf cart back within 6 hours, then we can, with one panel, we can put what we believe is about 75% charge back into your standard EV within 75% within about 8 hours of full sun. So that's another thing. Campgrounds, same concept. There's a lot of RV campgrounds out there, and we're working on initiatives for developing something in that world where RVs are not the most energy efficient things on the planet by no means, and we can offset a lot of that energy with solar in terms of providing power at the campgrounds or camp spots or things like that without having to upfit the RVs with solar itself. So there's some of that. Within 6 to 12 months, I would like to see us have more of a global presence. And so the idea is that we are sending wholesale panels out on a regular basis, while also being able to get a lot of these other pilot projects off the ground, as well as the golf cart thing. I really see that changing the game on that once we pilot this program and get several courses under our belts with that and have that data to show. We'll go to a manufacturer of the courses or of the carts and and really change the business of golf carts. We've cracked the technology of golf carts, but now the business of golf carts is a much harder nut to crack, and that's something that we intend to do within the next year.
Reggie, where can our audience find you?
Our website is bluehorizon-innovations.com, and there's a lot of companies at Blue Horizon out there, and we can all coexist together. But if I had known how many Blue Horizons there are, we probably would have gone in a different direction. But it was we put something together of what we believed, with our water and the boating world. We love boats. We're boating enthusiasts, and but anyway, bluehorizon-innovations.com is the best way. You can also look me up on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and talk with anyone that wants to chat over a cup of coffee.
Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.